All right, let's dive into something you might not expect. Parking.
Parking.
Yeah, specifically, we're going deep on this proposed paid parking pilot program in Pacific Beach,
Oh, yeah?
right here in San Diego. You wanted to know more about it, and well, we've got you covered.
Yeah.
So we've got this presentation from the Pacific Beach Community Parking District.
No,
They're kind of the ones spearheading this thing, right? And we've got some official city documents on how these parking districts even work.
this is good.
Our mission is to help you cut through all the noise and really help you figure out if this is something you want to support or oppose or even maybe suggest some changes to. What do you think?
It's interesting when you think about parking. It's not just about finding a spot for your car. It's really a microcosm of all these bigger issues we're grappling with,
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
like how we use public space, how
Yeah.
we design our communities, even climate change.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, who hasn't gotten frustrated trying to find parking, especially in a busy spot like PB?
Oh, tell me about it.
So let's start with what this pilot program is actually trying to solve. The Pacific Beach Community Parking District, or PBCPD for short.
Okay.
They say there just aren't enough parking spaces, especially over on Garnet Avenue in the commercial district.
Right, and because of that, you've got all these drivers cruising around looking for an open spot,
Uh, it's worse.
which creates, traffic jams, increases pollution, and makes things less safe for pedestrians and cyclists.
Absolutely.
Not to mention it just wastes everyone's time.
I've been there driving around in circles, getting more and more stressed.
Yeah.
The presentation mentioned this fact that really stuck with me. Street parking is a shared resource.
It's a great point and kind of gets at the heart of the issue.
Yeah,
It's not just about finding parking for your car.
right.
It's about managing this limited resource fairly and efficiently.
For everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get to the solution they're proposing. The PBCPD wants to try out this 1-year pilot program for paid parking on the busiest commercial streets, specifically those spots that have time limits of 2 hours or less. Okay, so paid parking. What are the potential upsides and downsides?
Sure.
Well, on the play side, it could bring in a lot of money for the community.
Right.
We're talking about money to fund a shuttle that goes around Pacific Beach,
Yeah.
making it easier for people to ditch their cars, money to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety,
Mhm.
and they even talked about bringing back the Sunrunner shuttle to connect to the trolley station.
These aren't just random ideas. These projects actually connect to larger city goals like Vision Zero,
Oh, right.
which aims to eliminate traffic deaths and injuries.
I like that.
Plus, think about all those cars circling for parking.
Yeah.
Less of that means less pollution?
Cleaner air for everyone.
Yeah.
I love how that all comes together. Plus, if there are more available spots, local businesses could see more customers.
That's definitely possible.
But we should also be realistic about the potential downsides, too.
Sure.
Like, how much will all this cost to administer? And who's going to make sure the money's spent properly?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, nobody enjoys the idea of paying for parking,
Yeah.
especially residents who already live in the area. There was even a survey back in 2017 that showed 57% of people opposed paid parking.
Right. You've got to think about the unintended consequences, too.
Oh, for sure.
For example, some business owners are worried that people will just park in free private lots if they have to pay for street parking,
Yeah, I could see that happening.
increasing security costs for those businesses.
It's complicated.
And it's,
So how would the money even get divided up?
well,
The presentation said 20% goes to the city to actually run the program,
right.
and the remaining 80% gets split, with 45% going to the community parking district and 55% to the city.
Well, there's a bit of a twist there. The city's rules actually guarantee that the district gets at least 45% of the money
Really?
from parking meters within its boundaries.
Oh, okay.
So that part's already set.
That's reassuring. It's good to know there are some safeguards in place.
Yeah.
Let's pretend for a second this pilot program is a smash hit. What could they do with all that money?
Well,
The presentation had some exciting ideas.
they did.
Yeah.
Those project ideas really highlight how paid parking could be more than just about making money.
Yeah.
It could actually be a tool to make Pacific Beach safer, more enjoyable, more environmentally friendly.
Absolutely. But how will they actually know if this experiment is working?
Right.
The PBCPD laid out some key questions they're going to be looking at.
Okay, like what?
Did it make it easier to find parking?
Right.
Did people start using private lots more? Did it reduce the impact on parking in residential neighborhoods? Did more people walk, bike, or take the bus? And of course, how much money did they actually bring in?
Makes sense.
It's not just about whether people like it or not.
Right.
It's about whether it actually solves the problems.
Exactly. And that's where your input as a listener and a member of this community becomes really important.
Yes. The PBCPD is asking for your feedback. They're having these public meetings, doing surveys, and you can even share your thoughts on their website or email them.
This is your chance to help shape how parking works in Pacific Beach.
Yeah, don't be shy. Make your voice heard.
Yeah.
We've already seen a mix of opinions, some for it, some against it.
Well, that's to be expected. With
Yeah.
any big change,
Right.
not everyone's going to agree.
One resident in the presentation, I think, was worried about people just parking further out in residential areas to avoid paying.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
It highlights how any decision can have ripple effects
Totally.
beyond just the intended area.
On the other hand, there was this business owner who's been in PB for, I think it was like 25 years.
Wow.
They think paid parking will be great for business, and they're really excited about how the money can be used to, like, spruce up the area.
It's interesting how this one change could have such different impacts on different people.
Right. And remember, this is still all in progress.
Yeah.
The PBCPD will keep gathering feedback, and then they'll vote on whether to recommend it to the San Diego City Council.
Right, they have the final say.
So if you want to go deeper into the mechanics of how these community parking districts actually work,
Yeah.
we're going to do that in the next part of our deep dive. We'll look at those policy documents and explore the framework that makes this whole thing possible.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Welcome back to our parking deep dive. We've kind of laid out the problem and the proposed solution for Pacific Beach. Now things are about to get a little more official.
A little more serious.
Yeah, as we explore the rules and regulations that make this whole pilot program possible.
Yeah, we're going behind the scenes to look at the legal framework for these community parking districts in San Diego.
Correct.
Think of it like the instruction manual for how these things work.
Okay, for anyone who isn't a legal expert,
Most of us.
break it down for us.
Well, the key document here is San Diego City Council Policy 118. Not exactly light reading,
Yeah.
but it lays out how these parking districts are created, how they operate, and how they should benefit the community.
And you're going to help us translate this policy jargon
Absolutely.
into something we can actually understand.
Because what's fascinating is how this policy tries to balance the city's needs with the specific needs of neighborhoods like PB.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
That's a tough balancing act.
it is.
So what are some of the key takeaways from this policy that are relevant to what's happening in Pacific Beach?
First off, Policy 118 says these community parking districts should be self-sufficient. They need to generate their own revenue to solve parking problems within their boundaries.
Make sense? It wouldn't be fair to make other neighborhoods pay for parking in PB.
Exactly, and this aligns with what we heard from the PPCPD.
Right.
They want to use the money from paid parking to fund improvements that directly benefit Pacific Beach.
Right, and the policy actually gets specific about what those funds can be used for,
It does.
saying the spending has to be directly related to managing and controlling parking, with the goal of making it easier for people to find spots.
Right, so those fancy project ideas we talked about, like the shuttle, the pedestrian safety improvements, bringing back the Sunrunner,
Yeah,
those would all be okay under this policy.
so they could actually use the money for that.
Yeah, the policy even mentions things like community shuttles, bike and pedestrian amenities, and traffic calming measures.
It's like they had PB in mind when they wrote this.
Well, more likely they wanted a flexible policy that could apply to lots of different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But the PB proposal definitely fits within this framework.
Yeah. Okay, so this policy gives them a solid legal basis for what they're trying to do.
It does. And it also includes some checks and balances to ensure transparency and accountability.
Okay.
For instance, the policy says community parking districts have to make annual plans and budgets
Okay.
that outline exactly how they're going to spend the money.
So no shady business.
Not if they're following the rules.
Right.
And these plans and budgets have to be approved by the city council,
Oh,
which provides another layer of oversight.
so the city council has the final say.
They do.
That's good to know because I know people were worried about potential misuse of funds.
It's a valid concern, and this policy tries to address that.
Yeah.
The policy also requires the community parking districts to submit performance reports to the city council.
Okay.
These reports show how they met their goals and how the money was used.
So it's not just about spending money, it's about proving that the program's actually working.
Exactly, data-driven decision-making.
Right.
This framework is all about making sure that these parking districts are operating effectively,
I like it.
using data to show their impact.
It's like a science experiment, but with parking.
Yeah, you got it.
You have your hypothesis.
Right.
You test it out, you gather data, and then you see if it worked.
And speaking of community involvement, Policy 118 really stresses getting input from residents and businesses.
Which the PBCPD seems to be doing with the meetings and surveys and encouraging feedback online and through email.
It's really important.
Yeah.
This isn't just about parking, it's about how we use our public spaces,
Right.
what kind of community we want to live in.
Okay, so we've got the problem, the proposed solution. Now we understand the legal side of things.
Yeah.
But what about the long game? What if this pilot program is successful and paid parking becomes permanent in PD?
Things get even more interesting then. We got to think about the ripple effects,
Yeah.
unintended consequences.
Right, because even if it achieves those goals,
Yeah.
like more parking, less traffic, more money for community projects, there could be other less obvious impacts.
Exactly. And that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll look at things like parking spilling over into residential areas, how it might impact businesses, and what it all means for how people get around PB.
Welcome back to our Pacific Beach parking saga. We've covered so much ground already. We talked about the problem, the proposed solution, the legal stuff. Now, what do you think? What might PB look like if this paid parking thing sticks around?
What's interesting, parking is not just about cars. It's connected to all these other aspects of how we live.
Oh, yeah.
Urban planning, transportation, businesses, even social equity. It all ties in.
I mean, yeah, just think about it. Parking affects how easy it is to get around, even what kind of businesses can make it.
Exactly. So remember that concern about parking spillover into those residential areas?
So, yeah.
If people don't want to pay for parking in the business district, will they just park further out for free, in the neighborhoods?
Yeah, some residents are definitely worried about that, and I get it.
It's a valid concern that PBCPD will need to keep a close eye on that.
Yeah.
If this goes forward, they'll have to track parking patterns in those nearby neighborhoods.
Okay.
Be ready to make changes if they have to.
Like what kind of changes?
Maybe resident parking permits or expanding the paid parking zone.
So it doesn't spill over.
Exactly.
It's tricky.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
You don't want to solve one problem and create a new one.
Right, for the people who live outside that main area.
And it's not just inconvenience. More cars parked in those neighborhoods, they can create safety issues.
Oh, yeah.
Conflicts between neighbors just make it less pleasant for the people living there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that any change we make, even with good intentions, can have those ripple effects.
Exactly.
Okay, what about businesses? We've heard from some owners who are excited about this. They think it'll bring in more customers.
More turnover.
Right, because people will be coming and going more frequently.
Right. But we've also heard from owners who are worried that people will be turned off by the cost and just go somewhere else.
It's hard to know how it'll shake out.
It is.
It seems like the pilot program is really the only way to know for sure.
It'll give them some real data.
Yeah, a real-life experiment.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's zoom out even more. How might this affect transportation in general? Could paid parking change how people choose to get around PB?
That's the big question. If driving and parking become less convenient or more expensive,
Right.
will people start walking more, biking more, using public transportation?
I mean, that's part of the plan, isn't it?
It is.
The PBCPD said that increasing active transportation is one way they're going to measure the success of this program.
Right, and some of those projects they're proposing, like the shuttle and the pedestrian safety improvements,
Yeah.
those are designed to make those other options more attractive.
Easier to use.
Exactly. It's all about giving people options.
Yeah, so they're not stuck using their cars for every little trip.
And that connects back to sustainability, reducing traffic, making PB just a nicer place to be.
Whether you live there, work there, or are just visiting.
Right.
This whole parking conversation is really about so much more.
It is.
It's about how we use our public spaces,
The future of PB.
what kind of community we want.
You've got it. It's about making choices that reflect our values, our vision, and that's where you come in.
You, the listener, you have a voice.
You can help shape that future.
The PBCPD wants your feedback.
Go to their website. It's pdparking.org
Or email them.
at pacificbeachcpd@gmail.com. Share your thoughts, ask your questions, help them figure this out.
It's a big decision.
And we always encourage you to do your own research,
Absolutely.
talk to your neighbors, really make up your own mind.
Because these decisions about parking today.
They'll affect us for years to come.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep engaging with these important issues.